Okay, so we're in a forward bending week, and I'm emphasizing the Sternal Kite, which is a reference in a book by T.S. Little. He's a great yogi, and he's written a great book, The Subtle Body of Yoga. And he talks about the sternal kite and floating the sternal kite, which is really applicable in forward bends where we do tend to kind of curl into ourselves. So in a forward bend, we actually want to try to keep the sternum forward, moving forward, as everything else in the front body moves back. So we're going to just play with that today in a bunch of different ways. And if you have a second chair, it's going to be helpful towards the end of the class. Also, if you have any blankets or even a pillow, we're going to play with that in one pose later. So if you don't have it, you'll be fine. So let's just start and center ourselves. We're going to try to come away from the back of the chair. So you're using your own effort to sit up tall. Just take a moment to place your feet so that they're forward facing toes. Your heels are behind the toes. Your heels are in line with your knees. Your knees are hip distance apart. And just roll your shoulders back until you sense that they are directly over the hips. In general, we tend to kind of curl the shoulders forward and kind of hang forward. So doing that adjustment to help us put the shoulders back, which brings the sternum forward. And just take your palms against your thighs, close your eyes, look away from your brain, and start to allow as much of the area of the buttocks and the thighs, sitting bones, to meet the chair and start to root down into the chair. Also your feet against the floor, making deeper contact there. Shoulders releasing down. The lower jaw relaxing away from the upper jaw. The tongue resting at the floor of the mouth. And then with that feeling of connection with the floor, start to invite some lightness. Think about the pelvic bowl slightly lifting from the chair without losing the connection of your seat against the chair. Think about the rib cage floating a bit higher. Even the skull, lifting the skull. Just try to balance these two directions of energy at the same time. Going back to your connection with the floor and the chair. Circling back to the lighter areas of the body. Maybe starting to sense both directions of energy simultaneously. And soften the belly. Observe the breath. And just imagine your sternum now as an actual kite shape. So there's 4 sides, there's 4 corners. And with every in-breath, just kind of bringing that kite aloft. You can place your hands together and thumbs right against the sternum, pressing up. Shoulders rolling back. Take a nice breath in here. And exhale, bowing toward the chest, without the chest receding. Let your hands come back down. Lift your head gently. Let your eyes open. And welcome. So we're going to go through some of the actions of the spine seated. We'll do some of the other actions standing. So the first piece we're going to do is a twist, and it's going to include a forward bend. So you can kind of take hold of the chair with the right hand, raise the left arm, And then exhale, and you're just going to bring your left hand to your right thigh and your right hand just farther back on the chair. So you might grab the back of the chair seat or place your hands on the chair seat, and just start to gently turn with your spine as upright as you can make it. And now you're going to turn to the back of the left hand against your thigh. And just notice how this helps you move the left side ribs around a little bit more easily. It helps you rotate the left shoulder back a bit more. You're going to come to the top of an inhale, and on an exhale, just begin to slide your left arm down the right leg. It doesn't have to be a huge transition. You might only move an inch. Your free right hand, might move to a different part of the chair now that you've leaned forward a little bit. Thinking about your sternum here. And every time you breathe in, just bringing it a little bit more forward. Just a few more deep breaths. On an inhale, just start to slide the arm back up, lift through the top of the head. You're coming out of the twist and out of the forward bend at the same time. You can exhale when you come back to center. And now we're going to hold the chair with the left hand, raise the right arm. And on an exhale, just place your right hand to the left thigh and your left hand somewhere that's directly behind you, centered and close to your body, so you can really keep the spine tall. And we'll begin with the front or the palm of the right hand against the thigh or leg. And as you sense your twist might be nearing the rib cage region, that's when we want to turn the hand so that we can start to work with those side ribs coming around. So bring the back of the hand against the thigh. Keep revolving the right side ribs forward, the left side ribs back. The twist might not come readily at first. Sometimes we have to wait out stiffness or resistance. But using the exhales to soften that supple spine, to be more receptive to the twist. You're going to come to the top of an in-breath, and on the exhale again, you're just going to slide a little bit. The arm will slide down the side of the left leg. You might adjust your hand that's behind you so that you can have a little more leverage here with the twisting forward bend. And don't forget to use the top of your head as the exit point for the line of energy that starts at the tailbone, travels all the way up the central channel and out through the crown. So you might think about every inhale, there's a little tug at the top of the head, gentle. Every exhale, you're rotating, soft, supple spine. And on the same in-breath, you're going to lengthen up and out of the twist. When you get there, exhale. Good. So we'll do flexion and extension as well, seated. And I'm going to give you an image to work with. It's the image of a giant beach ball. So like one of those very light inflatable beach balls. So we're going to work with the arms kind of flapping. So the arms are going to be out to the sides. You can have the wrists lower than the shoulders. And what you're going to do is just kind of float the hands back and think about the sternal kite, that shape of the breastbone being kite-like. And you're going to dip that forward toward the floor. And you can imagine that your back body eventually would hold that beach ball because it's concave. Okay, so that's the image. And this is our inhale. So inhale here, nice and big. And then exhale, you're going to take your hands to your knees, scoop the belly toward your back, tilt the chin in, and just imagine your beach ball fits right into the front body. You've contoured your front body to be concave enough the beach ball could fit right in front of you. Okay, If the image doesn't work for you, just leave it behind. You're going to inhale, open back up, leading with the sternal kite, dipping it toward the floor. Back body would support a beach ball, concave, good side of a spoon idea. And then on an exhalation, you can cup your knees if that works for you, scoop the belly back, tilt the chin in, pull the shoulders forward, really open the back body. You should feel some sensation there. You don't have to do this with every breath. Obviously, we're moving pretty slowly here. The inhale is when we become that nice concave back body, dipping the chest. Okay, let's just do a couple more. You can go on your own rhythm here. And once more. Leading with the chest, dipping it nice and low. Try to keep looking forward. That's going to help you keep the arch going all the way up to the brainstem. Last time with a deep exhalation, hollow the front body, pull the shoulders forward, really opening the back body to your breath, making space in the back body. And then you can inhale and just sit up nice and neutral. We're going to do one more piece here before we stand up. So a big piece of keeping the chest open is how the shoulders are working. A lot of us passively sit in forward rotation with the shoulders. So what we want to kind of train the shoulders to do is sit back. So think about the cells of the shoulders, of the actual flesh of the shoulders. Like they're cells in a petri dish. You can observe through a microscope. You can see them moving around. So imagine that they are moving from the front shoulder around to the back shoulder. So in yoga, we work with muscle and bone, obviously, but we don't as obviously think about the flesh, but the flesh can be a huge driver in our posture. So thinking about how the skin moves is a big piece of developing your practice. So not just the huge gross motor movement of the shoulders sitting back, but actually bringing some awareness to your shoulders kind of rotating front to back, the actual flesh of the shoulders. So to feel this, we're going to just take the arms out, palms down. And if you take the arms out and the palms are down, you can kind of imagine either those cells just kind of sitting stagnantly, or they're actually probably rotating forward a little bit. So we're going to try to move those skin cells of the shoulders. Reverse the palms to face up. Good. Think about those cells now moving kind of towards the back of the shoulder, and then raise the arms up. And you don't have to take them all the way up. If that hurts your shoulders, make sure to modify. But think about how the shoulders are supporting your chest to sit forward. So just to kind of, I like to sometimes learn by doing the wrong thing to understand. So go back to taking your arms out, palms down, and then see about bringing them up. And notice what the shoulders do. We feel congested, we feel confined. We don't feel that the sternal kite is very much aloft at all. So let's go back to, let's end on a good note here. Reverse your palms up. Think about the flesh of the shoulders. Good. And then take the arms back up. Palms facing, shoulders anchored into the torso. Sternal kite is aloft and forward. Good. And now go ahead and relax the arms. So just a little experiment. We can think about yoga all day, but until we experience it, we don't really, body doesn't get the memo. So it's important to do these things. So I'm going to change the camera here. We're going to stand up. I always get decapitated when I stand up. So we're going to do our downward facing dog on the chair. I should say with the chair, not on the chair. But coming into it through a different doorway. So you'll want to begin with your hands on the chair seat. And before we move into the downward facing dog, come into a couple cat-cow movements with the spine. So again, the beach ball idea. You're going to arch the back, take the tailbone up, sitting bones up, look forward. And in theory, you could hold the beach ball on your back body and it wouldn't roll off because you have a concave back body. Okay. And then exhale as if the beach ball is underneath you now and you're contouring yourself around it. You're making your back body like a dome, curling the chin in, scoop the belly toward the back. Now, don't worry about the sternum right now. We're going to fully make the sternum concave when we go into that cat tilt. So don't think about that just yet. Inhale, you're back to arching, looking forward, making your back body concave. Exhale, front body concave. Even the sternum. Okay, a couple more. Just with your own, just kind of feel the mobility of the spine. Feel if there's any sticky spots or trouble spots or hot spots. And the next time you're in your cow tilt, which you can remember because it's like a cow that needs to be milked, all the milk is kind of hanging towards the ground. So it's that arching back. This is how we're going to come into down dog today so that we can take a forward bend, which down dog is, with the sternal kite staying forward. So you're going to come into it from this doorway. You're in the arching position, chest is open, you're looking forward. Now all you have to do is step back a little bit. Step back a little bit, keep your chest forward, keep your eyes forward. And if you feel like your front ribs are kind of blasting wide open, see if you can zip them together without losing the forwardness of the sternum. So bringing the front inner edges of the ribs toward each other, toward midline, just to give your back body a little more support. Okay, so it feels a little different when we do it this way, just to take some of the pressure off, let your head come down, but try to keep your sternum really in the foreground, so not caving in. Just a few breaths. Good. Now you're going to inhale, pick the head back up, and just start to walk in and come all the way up. Nice work. All right, I always get happy when I see people taking layers off because it means that we're starting to stoke the inner fire. It means we're kind of building some tapas, which is the heat or the discipline, the word that we use in yoga, the burning through the impurities. So that last two actions of the spine that you might have noticed we missed is lateral movement. So the movement of the crescent shape of the spine. Oftentimes we do it seated. Today we're going to do it standing. So to give yourself a nice steady firm base, separate the feet hip distance, toes in front of heels. We're going to do our crescent shape with the arms coming up. Now, if parallel arms is not your friend, if it hurts you somehow or bothers your shoulders, you can do letter V. You can do kind of this cactus or goalpost position. Some people also call it goddess. There's so many words for the same thing in yoga. So pick your arm position. Take the tailbone in, lift the sternum, and on an exhale, lengthen to the left. And try to balance the weight in the feet so we don't just pour the weight into the left foot. We want to actively step into the right foot. Remind your right hip to move down. It's probably a little confused where you want it to go. Same with the shoulder. Remind your right shoulder is part of your torso. It's not part of your fingernails. And just keep opening both sides of the body. Keep moving the spine into this deeper crescent shape. Couple more breaths. Your head is right between the arms. Good. And on an in-breath, you're going to raise yourself back up. And exhale between sides, we're going to take mountain pose. So go ahead and close the eyes, drop the shoulders, and build the pose from the ground up. So go to the feet and really discover the feet are connecting with the floor. Are they feel their pace are clinging? Are they balanced? Are they expansive? Whatever the feet does, the body generally does. It's very important the feet have a sound relationship with the floor. The tailbone into the body, and just try to make the pelvic tilt neutral. So that means the liquid would not slosh out the front or the back. So we all have different imbalances in the pelvic tilt. Some of us need to do a little more scooping. Some of us need to do a little more pouring. Those are the words I like to use for the pelvic tilt.
So the scoop is the posterior tilt, and the pouring is the anterior forward tilt. Shoulders in line with hips. Think about the little petri dish of cells in your shoulders traveling from the front armpit shoulder around to the back armpit shoulder area. And then blink the eyes open. Second side for crescent shape. So by the way, all the actions of the spine support deeper forward bending. So as we do more twisting and lateral movement, we're going to get more juice out of our forward bends. So it's important that we include those pieces, even though we're doing a strictly forward bending practice, it's always somehow well-rounded. So we're going to take the arms up, find your favorite arm position, remind the shoulders to anchor into the torso, not to munch on your ears. Feel the balanced feet. You're going to try to maintain them as you move to one side. Inhale, come to the top of the breath. Exhale, we're lengthening to the right. Actively stepping some weight back to the left foot so that you're really balanced. And even though we have this obvious opening left side body and a shorter right side body, try to keep some sensation of space to your right side body. So not collapsing. Just because we're opening one side doesn't mean we want to collapse the other. Deepen your breaths. Visualize your spine moving softly, gently to the right. Remember, the exit point is the crown of the head, so don't forget that you have to use a little lifting and direction to the crown of the head, not just dropping it onto the bottom arm. Every in-breath, lengthen through the crown. Beautiful, you guys are doing great. Inhale, pick it up, back to center. And exhale, release the arms. Revisiting mountain pose, we were just here, so we get to kind of enjoy watching the body come back into the wise actions, this time a little bit more spontaneously. And try to be a container for your breath. So in other words, not trying to quiet it down or slow it down. Allow the breath to regulate on its own. Good. And we're going to open the eyes. If you feel like you need to kick your legs free or shake your limbs loose, make sure to refresh yourself. And we are going to come into Uttanasana, but we're going to take the half version. When we take the half version of our forward bends, it allows us to keep the lower back concave or even flat, but not rounded, which helps us keep our chest really forward. So you're going back to facing your chair. Your arms will be like pillars, so directly in line with shoulders. Feet are spaced hip distance, toes in front of heels. And it's just like you're starting from that cow tilt again. So you're in that really deep kind of arching position. Your chest is coming forward. Look forward, and I want you to bring awareness to your inner elbows and turn the inner elbows to face forward as well. And when you do that, can you imagine how you just adjusted the cells of the flesh of the shoulders? When we wind the inner elbows forward, we signal the flesh of the shoulders to spiral from the front armpit to the back armpit. Okay. So straighten your legs. That's a piece of Uttanasana. And I'm going to have you exhale, bend the elbows, and see how low you can dip your chest without bending your knees, without losing the concave or flat lumbar. So you have to bend your elbows to allow yourself to do that. But keep looking forward. Keep looking forward. Dip your chest lower. Tilt the pelvis forward. It's the pouring action. Attach your navel to your spine so you're not blasting open your front body. Zipper the front ribs toward midline. Good. Inhale, lift yourself back up. And now tighten your abdominals and come all the way up. All the way up. Good work. Roll your shoulders back. Drop into mountain pose just for a few breaths. One is to regulate breath and energy, but another reason is to really just take a moment to feel the residuals. And this is how we really intimately come to know our yoga poses and how to
prescribe our yoga poses, which is a really important piece. A lot of people ask about home practice. It's not just about setting up the room or knowing what to do. Well, it is about knowing what to do, but this is how we know what to do, because we come to know these poses and kind of to prescribe them as needed. So there's an energy signature. And blink the eyes open. Good. So we're going to copycat that, but with our Parsvottanasana legs. So this is the one where we split the legs, one leg forward, one leg back. We'll start with right leg forward. We're still grabbing the chair just like we just did for Uttanasana. Pillars for arms. Straight legs. Hip compaction. So as if your hips are being squeezed in a vice grips. That doesn't sound very friendly. Squeeze your hips toward midline. And now go ahead and spiral the arms, your inner elbows face forward. Target your wrists underneath you a little more, or bring your body toward the chair. You can do it either way, but try to have your arms up and down sharp. There you go. Okay, spiraling the arms signals the shoulders, chest moves forward. Okay, legs are straight and firm. Feet are balanced. There is a tendency for feet to kind of roll toward the forward leg side. So you have to correct, just kind of bringing your weight to the left across the feet. And now again, bending the elbows out to the side. See if you can dip your chest just a little bit lower. It doesn't have to be a huge journey. Keeping the concave lumbar, keeping the sternal kite aloft, not contracting, keeping it foreground. Keep looking forward. That's going to help you do that. Probably really feeling your legs now. Inhale, come back up to straight arms. And now go ahead and step in, and you can step back with the right. So that we're going to do the same thing, other side. Okay, so first, just take care of the legs. Make sure your feet are hip distance apart. Your legs are straight. Your hips are like headlights. So you're leveling the hip line. You're rotating right hip forward, left hip back. Squeezing both hips to center. Roll the inner elbows to face forward. Look forward. Come to the top of an inhale, and on an exhale, start to bend elbows and dip the chest. Bring your belly button to your spine. Try to keep your lumbar flat or concave, ideally concave. Last exhale, inhale, you can push yourself back up. Good. And now bring your feet together. Come all the way up. Roll your shoulders back. And with your mountain arms hanging there, turn your inner elbows forward by turning your palms forward. It's like your palms are face forward. Inner elbows stay facing forward. Now revolve the forearms and hands back to facing your thighs without losing the inner elbows facing forward. So this helps us keep our shoulders in check. Close the eyes if you can. Go to the feet right away. And for the next 5 inhales, rather than letting the belly swell, do the opposite thing with the next 5 inhales. Spread the belly toward the back body like the underside of an umbrella, which forces the breath to move up higher and to also expand out to the sides of the rib cage and the lungs. And it helps keep that sternal kite aloft. Just 3 more in-breaths, taking the abdomen toward the back body rather than letting it inflate.
And when you're done, just go back to easy breathing. Blink your eyes open, shake your limbs free. Okay. Now we're gonna do a balancing challenge, but it's very mild. So we're gonna do it without the chair. Move the chair aside. I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see me. We're gonna do warrior 3 with these helpful arms. So just start like you're in mountain pose with your palms forward again. And even go beyond and just roll the pinkies more forward than the thumbs. So you're really exaggerating this turn of the arms. Okay, and now we're gonna start with the right foot being the standing leg and the left leg being the aerial leg. So just step your left big toe back, but keep it on the floor. And then go back to making sure your hips did not rotate. So you want to keep your left hip forward. Okay, so with the arm position, we are really lifting that sternal kite. That's the function of the arms here. So you're going to begin to weight bear, pour your weight into your right foot. Lean forward with your torso. Maybe you can lift the left leg. It's not necessary. But keep the sternum really forward. And as the leg rises, the torso tilts down. And you might only kind of shift a little bit. You might go deep. Really doesn't matter. As long as you're getting a feeling for this. Inhale, come back upright, big toe down. Step that left foot back underneath you. Relax the arms and give your right leg a good shake. Okay, so this is really imprinting the idea that we can bend forward without collapsing the chest. We're trying to really get that kind of, bring it home today. Okay, so from mountain, palms forward, inner elbows forward, go beyond and just rotate the pinkies more forward. So you feel the inner upper arms move forward, the outer upper arms move back. Wonderful. Weight bearing into the left foot, right big toe steps back. Compact your hips and make sure that both hips are like headlights on the same frontal plane. On an exhale, start to lead with your sternum. Maybe that right leg becomes aloft. Maybe you're just going to keep the big toe there and play with the wise actions with 2 feet underneath you. That's fine. But just keeping the chest forward and leading. And then on an in-breath, bring yourself out of it. Bring the right foot under you. Relax the arms. Kick the legs free. And once you're refreshed, here we are again, back in mountain pose, okay? Checking in throughout the practice so many times with this pose. It's a palate cleanser. It helps us remember the experience of a previous pose. It helps us regulate the body and the breath. And we can test progress because as we come back to this pose, we start to feel more steadiness in the body. All right. So we're going to do a standing forward bend lunge with the chair seat. So you're going to use your chair seat. We're going to keep right foot forward, left foot back. We're going to step into that position again. But you need enough room to be able to bend your right knee roughly into a 90-degree angle. But for a lot of us, it'll be less than that. But do your best to bring the knee over the ankle. And you're going to start on your long arms once again. For some of us, the left heel going down is really a big ask. Might not even be accessible. So feel free to be in a true lunging position with your heel off the floor, left heel, and in line with the toes. And if you're able to ground it, that's great. Otherwise, go into your lifted heel lunging stance. Okay. So here we go again, same ideas. Rotate the inner elbows forward. Inner elbows forward. Look forward. Okay. Sensing an arched back body could hold a beach ball from rolling anywhere. Now again, come to the top of an in-breath. And on your exhale, Hinge the elbows wide, dip the chest, keep looking forward. And now inhale, come back up. And I want you to see about putting your forearms on the chair. Can you get your forearms on the chair? Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing, look forward, prep that way. You're prepping the sternum to stay in the foreground. Take an in-breath and now bow your head. So you're in a full forward bend now, but can you somehow keep your sternum moving forward rather than back? And even if it's just your imagination, you don't actually know if it's moving forward or back, keep imagining the sternum moving forward. Good, you guys look great. Let's take 3 more exhales here. And after your 3rd exhale, you're gonna come back onto your hands. Press, press, press to bring yourself up. You might have to step a little more heavily into your left toes to step forward, kind of a momentum or a ballistic movement there. And then right away, you can step back with your right. We'll set up the same thing. Feel free to pivot off the heel if you need a little more room. Feel free to ground your right heel with your right toes pointing slightly sideways out to the side. Find your deepest knee bend, ideally knee above ankle and thighs level with floor. We'll be on our long arms first. Spiral the inner elbows forward. And notice how that connects with the shoulder blades moving toward the chest. It's a direct signal. Keep looking forward. Come to the top of an in-breath and now hinging the elbows wide, which also helps keep your chest broad. Dip your sternum down toward the chair. Keep the back body concave. Take it 1 more little tiny millimeter closer to the chair and then inhale back to long arms. Good. And now forearms to the chair. Forearms to the chair. There we go. Look forward. Good. Move the shoulder blades in toward the chest, scaffolding for the chest. Big inhale, exhale, let your head lower down, but see if you can keep your chest forward. Don't let it contract back to the back body. Keep your shoulder blades pushing the chest toward the chair. Two more good exhalations. Last time you exhale, and then on an inhale, look forward again. Come back to your hands, push, push, push. Maybe bringing a little extra weight into your left ball, right ball mounds and toes, step in. All the way up. Adjust your shoulders back. And just right back in mountain pose. As you repeat this pose, you might notice like the effort dial is getting turned down with each re-entry into this pose. Wise actions are more spontaneous. Steadiness helps us minimize effort. You might even start to recognize this pose has a lot of similarities to the final resting pose of Shavasana, lying flat on your back passively, yet we're standing. All right, so before we come back to seated, we're going to do one more standing pose. You can open your eyes. You're going to be doing the wide standing forward bend. And very similarly with our long arms first. So you're going to step wide on your mat so you have traction. Toes in front of heels. Before we fold forward, take your hands to your hips.
clamp the elbows in. Maybe even use your thumbs to push the tailbone in and get that sternal kite off the ground. Lift it, lift it, lift it. So you're imprinting. Keep the sternal kite where it is. Tilt your pelvic bowl forward, the pouring action, pour, 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 and bring your hands onto the chair seat. Spiral the inner elbows forward. Okay, remember the belly as the underside of an umbrella. So every time you breathe in, spread the belly back. It's going to help you keep the chest forward. Okay, so we're going to take 3 breaths here before we go into a full forward bend. So 3 big breaths. Inner elbows forward, eyes forward, sternal kite forward. Thinking about the cells of the shoulders, traveling from front armpits to back armpits. Good. Top of the in-breath. Exhale, lead with your chest, dip, dip, dip. You're gonna come down, you might come to your forearms, you might just bend your elbows, it depends how much flexibility is there. You're gonna let your head come down too. And once the head is down, it gets a little bit less easy to keep that chest forward, but you're gonna try. Okay, so we're really against gravity here with the shoulder rotation, so we have to really use that visual of the cells traveling from the front armpits to the back armpits, resisting gravity. If we can do this, then it will help us keep our chest forward. Three more breaths. After your next exhale, you can inhale, look forward, slide your hands back onto the chair seat, press, 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 bring yourself up, and then heel toe walk your feet back underneath your hips. And you have safely arrived to an upright standing position. You can find yourself seated. Okay. So I'm just trying to, I think we have time for the rest of the plan here. We're going to do Marichyasana, seated forward bend. This does not require the second chair just yet. So we'll start from seated. We're going to extend the left heel out, so the left leg is straight. Some of us sometimes need to elevate the heel, it depends on your relationship with your own proportions and the chair you're using. So you might find it's more comfortable, or you have a straighter leg if you put a block under your heel. Okay, so this is a forward bend, but remember what I said earlier about twists and other movements of the spine helping our forward bends to grow deeper. So we're going to start this forward bend with a twist. Okay, so we're going to take our right hand, back of the hand to the inner right knee. Yep. And then you're going to take your left hand off to the side of the chair somewhere you can grab, so that you essentially have this leverage to help you turn your chest, your torso, as well as you can to the left. Three more exhales. Remember, we want to try to clear those side ribs to come forward on the right side. And after that third exhale, you're going to inhale out of it, back around, and we're going to come into a forward bend now. This is where you're going to need that second chair. So the second chair aligns with the seat of the chair above the left leg, so that you can either bring your hands there, or for some of us, the head. Okay, so you're facing the chair, second chair. You're going to try to bring your hands onto it. This is a modification of a sitting forward bend. So we're sitting in a chair, but it's usually done sitting on the floor. So revolve the inner elbows to face forward.
So it gives a message to the shoulders. Move the shoulder blades in toward the chest, and on an exhale, leading with the sternum, that's how you're going to come in, but then you might move on to the forearms. You might be able to get your head down somehow, and you're going to take a full forward bend. So you're going to your own personal physical edge, but you're attempting to keep that sternum, that diamond shape, forward, not let it retract. Okay, we're going to stay about 5 breaths here, from here, 5 more exhales. Every time you breathe in, belly moves to the back body. It does not inflate. Good. Next time you exhale, you can finish out that breath. Inhale, look forward, come back to your hands, and then inhale, support yourself coming back upright. And you can move your second chair just aside and step the left foot back underneath the knee. So we'll set up the second side, and you can choose to elevate your heel with a block or even a book, whatever you have. And we'll start with the twist. So left back of the hand to inner left knee. Right hand is going to travel off to the side of the chair somewhere. And on an exhale, we're going to turn the torso just in an upright way, not in a forward bend, for about 5 breaths. Sensing those left side ribs starting to come around toward the front body. One more exhale. On your inhale, lift through the top of the head and come back to facing forward. The other purpose of the twist is it helps our torsos align with the straight leg, whereas if we hadn't have twisted, we wouldn't be as easily able to align the sternum with the right leg. So that's a piece of the alignment of this pose. So now the chair support, which is going to be for the arms, maybe for the head, going to go above the right leg. By the way, the right foot should remain active, right leg, I mean, which means your toes are pulling toward you and you're pressing out through the heel and the ball mounds. That keeps your leg firm. Okay, so hands to the chair or whatever you're using, spiral the inner elbows, revolve the shoulders, open the chest, you're imprinting, tether the navel to the spine, come to the top of an in-breath, exhale, hinging the elbows, dip the chest low. Good, and then maybe you stay there, maybe you're able to put the forearms down and bow the head. So go into your deepest. And the work from here is just to keep your attention on the breastbone, the kite, the forwardness. Okay, so 5 breaths. After this exhalation, lift your head, initiating that kind of exit from the forward bend, hands to the chair, inhale, press, 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 bring yourself up. We're going to keep the second chair, but you might need to move it so that you can step your feet back underneath you. And now just wiggle your butt back until you have a lot of seat under your buttocks, under your thighs. And we'll step the knees wide now. We're going to let the toes turn out 45 degrees. We're going to come into a seated forward bend, again with the support of the second chair. So take hold of the chair once you have your legs. The shins should be right in line with the knees and ankles. You don't want to have angles on your shins. Take your hands to the chair, just like we've done this whole class. Rotate the inner elbows forward. Lift the breastbone. Come to the top of an inhale Start to dip the chest forward, dip, dip, dip. Good. And then come lower, as low as you can. Maybe the forearms come out of the chair. Maybe you're able to bow the head. Maybe you're able to somehow support your forehead. Sometimes I do this prayer hands, thumbs against my forehead, which gives my nervous system a lot of support. But you're just basically going to get the head comfortable, resting if possible, otherwise just releasing down. And then again, the work is just to kind of keep working with your shoulders, keeping the sternum forward, floating the abdomen back. So there's misconception about forward bends, that they're just wear and tear on the lumbar spine and kind of harming us in ways that we already get a lot of the forward bending in lifestyle. So this practice should really show you that we're able to get a lot of usefulness out of the forward bending practice, even if we're dealing with lower back stuff that is a result of too much forward bending. We can still practice in a way that keeps our backs healthy. Okay, so you're going to gently lift your head, bring your hands onto that surface, whatever you're using, come all the way up. And now last but not least, we're going to do the child's pose with head support. So this is where I said earlier that you might want to use a blanket in this practice, because we're attempting to bring our arms onto this chair seat, or even our prayer hands and our elbows. The blanket is there as a spacer, which even though you're adding more to the space between your chest and thighs, it can act kind of as a way to keep a sense of spaciousness rather than a feeling of collapse. So one thing to do, if you're going to try this, you might, if you have a belly roll, you want the abdominal roll above that blanket, not below. That's going to help you feel that spaciousness. You have to kind of lift your flesh and move it over the blanket. And then you're going to have your knees in line with your hips. So you don't want your legs super wide anymore. You don't have to glue them together either, just hip distance wide. And then if you have a way to get your head down, so the way I like is to do the prayer hands on my elbows. But another option is to just rest your forearms and bow your head. So you don't have to have your head touching anything. It just gives your head kind of freedom to be passive and descending without the support. So just kind of figure it out to what feels the quietest in your body. And then you're going to attempt to soften into this seated child's pose. Imagine your breath filling in the back body, feathering out between the back ribs. So not only increasing the extension of the spine, but also fanning out across the back body. Just 3 more breaths here. And now just kind of noticing how quiet you've gotten. You're going to try to maintain that and just kind of start to slowly come out of the pose. And if you have a blanket on your lap, it's actually kind of nice for our final kind of quiet moment for sitting and breathing. So the reason it can be really nice is because it can elevate your hands on your lap, which in turn allows your elbows to hang, which allows your shoulders to descend. So it can be a really nice little tiny prop. Nothing is complicated about this, to put you in a really kind of more passive state. So feel free to try it, adding a little additional height to your lap. Backs of your hands rest
which again is going to help you with the chest and shoulders. And you're using the back of the chair. So feel free to scooch back. If you're lucky, the chair hits you across the dorsal spine, right between the shoulder blades. For most of us, it doesn't, but if it does, use that because it's going to help you keep that chest forward. If you're not so lucky, you just kind of keep some awareness on the sternum, staying forward. And because we've done so much work today on this area, it's just, for me, it's like, I can't miss this opportunity to do a little pranayama, because this is half of the setup. The chest is lifted. All we have to do now is drop the chin to the little pocket between the collarbones or toward the little pocket between the collarbones. And this is the highest aperture of the spine. So when we bring this, it's a bandha, which is a lock. When we bring in Jalandhara bandha, we close that aperture and we're basically siphoning the energy of the spine, we're containing it. So every time you inhale, you're just going to float the chest up. And every time you exhale, the chin snuggles down deeper without the chest contracting. Keep the shoulders heavy, the elbows oozing toward the floor. All we're going to do, hopefully it's pretty simple, but I'll explain it before we do it, is viloma, which means against the hair. We're going to do a interrupted inhale. It's going to have 3 segments, which means it's going to have 2 pauses. And your attempts are going to be to try to make these 3 segments even, which means they're equal in length. So you're going to be taking a full breath in and a full breath out to prepare. And then on your next in-breath, you're going to breathe in a third of the breath, pause. Breathe in another third of the breath, pause. Breathe in the final third of the breath, exhale. Inhale fully. Exhale fully. Repeating again, a third of the breath in, pause. Another third, pause. Final third. Big exhale. Big inhale. Another big exhale. Last attempt here. A third of the breath, taking that breath in, pause. Another third. Final third. All the breath goes out. Lift your chin so your front and back of your neck are level. Your chin is level with the floor. Keep the eyes pointed toward the cheeks. Breathe easily. And just notice what you notice. Nothing more. Take a deep cleansing breath. Try to let it fully empty. And come back to easy breathing and just scoot away from the back of the chair. So you're sitting up tall with your own efforts. Bring our hands together in front of the chest, the thumbs scrubbing up on the breastbone. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Namaste. All right. Thank you all for being here. I hope to see you again soon. And have a great day. Have a great trip, Karen.